I always believed that the people who loved you would help you when you were hurt. I thought love meant safety. I thought love meant someone would hold your hand when you were scared. I thought love meant someone would run to you when you needed help. I was wrong. The pain began suddenly, like a huge fist pushing inside my chest. Felt like fire and like squeezing at the same time. My heart felt tight like someone was wrapping ropes around it. It was hard to breathe, like the air was too small or too far away. My eyes got blurry like dirty glass. I blinked and the room swam like water. I reached my shaking hand toward my sister. My voice sounded tiny like a weak whisper. I said, "Please, call 9-1-1. But she looked at me with anger instead of worry. She rolled her eyes like she thought I was just pretending. She said, "Stop acting. You're doing this for attention." My phone was on the table. I tried to reach for it but my hand felt slow like I was underwater. Soraya was faster. She grabbed my phone and hit it hard on the table with a loud smack. She placed it face down so I couldn't see it or touch it again. I fell. My knees gave up like they forgot how to stand. I hit the floor. The wood felt cold and smooth under my cheek. It smelled like old polish and dust. The world sounded far away like I was underwater. I could hear voices but they were blurry like echoes. There were 12 people in that room but nobody helped. Nobody moved to call an ambulance. Nobody even bent down to touch my hand. I remember my mother's face. She looked at me wide-eyed and frozen. Like she didn't know what to do. Like she needed someone else to tell her what to think. She looked at Soraya instead of listening to me. She waited for permission. Permission that Soraya would never give. Everyone thought I was faking. They thought I wanted drama. They thought I wanted to ruin the reading because I was jealous of Soraya. They believed I was angry about being left out of Dad's money. But they were all wrong. They didn't know what my father had really written. They didn't know what was inside his envelope. They didn't know he had discovered a secret about Soraya months ago. A secret big enough to change the whole family. And soon, a doctor in the hospital would look at my sister and say 6 words that would break her shiny confidence. Those words would crush everything Soraya believed about me. Everything she thought she knew. Everything she pretended I wasn't. I am 36 years old. I work with numbers as an accountant. My job is quiet. I sit, I calculate, I check lists. I don't shout. I don't take up space. I am small and silent like a shadow in a bright room. For most of my life I believed that if you love people enough, if you are kind enough, gentle enough, helpful enough, they will love you back. But I learned that love does not always work that way. Sometimes you give love like a gift wrapped with ribbons and some people never unwrap it. They let it sit in a corner, forgotten. 2 weeks before the worst day of my life, I was sitting beside my father's bed. He was at home very sick. Cancer had taken his voice, his strength, his laughter. He could not speak much, but his eyes were bright like stars. They watched everything. They missed nothing. The room smelled like medicine, flowers, and old books. Sunlight came through the curtains like soft gold paint. I read him his favorite Hemingway story, the same one I used to read as a child. His hand felt warm in mine. Weak but warm. I visited 3 times a week, sometimes more. When he needed constant care, I took time off work. I changed his sheets. I watched the tubes. I wrote down what time he took his pills. I fed him soup. I helped him move when his body hurt too much. I stayed through long nights that felt endless and quiet. I did this because I loved him. Because he was my dad. Because he had once lifted me on his shoulders and spun me in the air. Because he taught me how to ride a bike and how to spell my name. Because love to me meant staying even when it was hard. My sister Soraya visited too, but not like I did. She visited only when Mom could see her. She carried her phone like a trophy. She posed next to Dad, took pictures holding his hand, smiling like an angel in a picture frame. She stayed only 20 minutes or maybe 30. Then she left quickly, hair perfect, makeup perfect, everything perfect. She said she had appointments, parties, special plans she couldn't miss. And Mom praised her for it. Soraya is such a caring daughter. She gives so much of herself. Mom never said that about me. I was the daughter who did everything. But I was invisible, like someone erased my name quietly with an eraser. I wondered why Mom loved Soraya so much more. Why does she protect her like a treasure? Why did she forgive her for everything no matter how big? Then I learned the truth. When Soraya was born, she was too early. She could have died. She was tiny like a bird, bones like paper, breath like a small candle flame. Mom lived through weeks of fear. Fear so big it never left her heart. She held that fear like a secret stone inside her. She promised herself she would never let Soraya hurt again. So Soraya grew up surrounded by protection. He got special gifts, special forgiveness, special love. And I learned to stay quiet, to wait, to not take up too much space. Because Soraya needed attention more, always more. But my dad, saw me. He saw who sat beside him. He saw who stayed, who read, who cooked, who washed sheets, who returned again and again. One night he held my hand with surprising strength. His voice was thin like a thread but clear. I see everything, sweetheart. Everything. I didn't understand then. I thought he meant he saw my kindness. I didn't know he had found something out about Soraya. Something big. He learned it 6 months before he died and began planning quietly like a soldier preparing for a secret battle. He made a plan to protect someone. Maybe me, maybe the truth. I didn't know. In the last days before he passed, Soraya became strange. She kept asking if I was coming to the will reading. Her voice was sweet but also sharp under the sugar. You're so busy with work, Nick. Maybe you shouldn't come. No one would blame you. The words sounded kind on the outside but felt rotten inside. Like she wanted me to say no. Like she wanted me gone. She started visiting Dad more, but only when I wasn't there. Only when Mom could watch her smile. Only when people could say, "What a good daughter." Meanwhile, something was happening inside me. My body gave me small warnings like little alarms. Chest tightness that felt like pins pushing. Shortness of breath when I climbed stairs. Cold sweats woke me at night like someone poured ice water over me. Trembling hands like tiny shivers. I told Mom once, but she barely looked up. "You're just stressed. You think too much." So I believed her. I pushed through the pain. I kept helping everyone else. I forgot to help myself. The day of the will reading came. I woke up with heavy pressure on my chest, like a brick was sitting on me. My hands trembled before I even stood up. Something felt wrong, terribly, deeply wrong, but I couldn't name it. The sky outside was gray. The wind felt sharp. My house was quiet like it was holding its breath. I got dressed slowly. My heart beat strange, uneven like a drum played by someone tired. I drove to my parents' house. The driveway was full of cars, shiny, dark, familiar, strange. Inside, the living room was full of relatives. Some were aunts with perfume like roses. Some were uncles with loud voices and heavy jackets. Some were cousins I barely knew, faces like old photographs. The chairs were arranged in neat rows like a classroom or a funeral. People chatted softly like birds whispering. Soraya stood in front near the lawyer's empty chair. She smiled like she owned the world. She wore a pretty dress. Her hair was perfect. Her confidence shone like a bright light. She greeted everyone like she was the host, the princess of the day. She pointed people to seats. She touched hands gently and accepted hugs softly. She looked like a hero in everyone's eyes. No one saw the truth. I walked to a seat in the corner, quiet like a shadow. No one noticed. No one asked how I was. No one wondered why I sat alone. Mom stood across the room, happy and glowing with pride people gave to Soraya. Relatives held her hand, saying how lucky she was to have such a devoted daughter like Soraya. Mom nodded, smiled, and accepted praise that belonged to someone else. To me, it hurt like tiny knives under my skin. I wanted to shout the truth. I wanted to show proof, papers, doctor lists, pill logs, calendar notes, all with my handwriting. But I stayed silent. I swallowed my words like heavy stones. Because all my life, silence was easier than fighting. The lawyer finally arrived. He sat down, opened a brown folder, put on his glasses. Everyone waited, still and quiet. Soraya stood beside him, tall like a queen about to be crowned. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. She was sure, completely sure, she would get everything. And then it happened. The pain punched me again, harder, sharper. Like a hand grabbed my heart and squeezed. I grabbed the chair. My knuckles turned white. Sweat ran down my face. The room blurred like a spinning dream. My ears rang. My legs shook. I tried to breathe but my chest felt locked. I reached toward Mom and whispered, "Something's wrong. Please. Call 911. Everyone heard me. Everyone saw me shake. Everyone saw my face turn pale like snow. But no one moved. Mom looked at me, eyes wide, confused. For 1 second I thought she would run to me. I thought she would hold my hand. But before she could choose, Soraya spoke. Her voice cut through the room like scissors. "Oh, stop it, Eileen. Stop pretending. She walked toward me, angry, annoyed, and cold. She said loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're doing this because you think Dad left everything to me. You can't stand it. You want attention." I tried to reach for my phone. My fingers brushed the air, but Soraya grabbed it first. She turned it off fast and slammed it face down so I couldn't see the screen. Then she turned to Mom, voice sharp. "Don't call anyone. She's faking. If she makes a scene, we'll have to delay everything. Just ignore her." Mom hesitated. She looked at me, then at Soraya, then back at me. I saw her heart fight inside her. But Soraya's voice was strong. Mom was weak. So Mom stayed still. The relatives whispered. Someone cleared their throat. No one stood. No one touched me. No one helped. The pain grew huge, like thunder inside my chest. My heart felt like it was breaking open. My legs collapsed. I fell hard to the floor. My cheek met the cold wood again. I could smell polish and dust. My breath came in tiny gasps like a small animal. My lips tingled like snow. The room spun like a slow circle. I saw shoes, chair legs, the bottom of dresses. People watched but didn't move. I whispered softly. "Dad, he knew, he saw." My voice faded like a candle going out. I didn't know if anyone heard. Everything became quiet. Everything became still. Mom looked at Soraya with lost eyes, unsure, frozen, like a statue waiting for someone to give it life. And that was the moment I understood something painful and clear. Sometimes the people you love the most do not save you. Sometimes they watch. Sometimes they believe a lie instead of your truth. Sometimes they wait when you need them to run. And sometimes love is not enough to make them move. Soraya stood with her arms folded tight across her chest like she was trying to hold herself together, but really she just looked angry and proud. When she spoke, her voice was cold, so cold it felt like it could turn warm water into solid ice. She told everyone in the room that I would be fine, like nothing was wrong with me at all. She said I only wanted to ruin things for her, like this was my plan. She said I was jealous of her, like I always had been. Her voice sounded sharp and cruel, like broken glass. Time moved slowly, painfully slowly. It was like someone stretched a single second into a long rope that never ended. The first 30 seconds went by, then more than a whole minute. Everyone just stared. I lay flat on the floor like a dropped doll, unable to move my arms or legs. Breathing felt like trying to suck air through a tiny straw that was almost closed. Each breath hurts. My eyes wouldn't stay open. They kept sliding shut like heavy doors. The ceiling above me looked far, far away. Too bright, too white. I could see the chandelier hanging high above me, the same one my father bought many, many years ago. I remembered watching him climb the ladder, screwing in each crystal piece by hand, smiling with pride. The crown molding around the ceiling was smooth and beautiful. He painted it himself, slowly and carefully. Everything around me reminded me of him. And suddenly I thought something strange and scary. I might die right here. In the room where I grew up. In a house I knew my whole life. With my family standing right there, watching me fall, watching me struggle, but not one of them moved to help. They looked at me like I was a TV show, not a real person. They saw me choking, gasping, shaking, and they stood still like statues. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that someone else was there too. Someone who wasn't frozen. Someone who cared. Her name was Mrs. Isolde, my father's closest friend and our next-door neighbor. She lived in the house beside ours, just across the yard with a white fence and green bushes. She was kind and gentle but strong in the way old oak trees are strong. That day she heard yelling through her open window. Loud voices, angry voices. Something in the sound worried her. She walked over, stepped onto our grass and pushed open the door we had forgotten was unlocked. She stood there quietly, half hidden in the doorway, watching for a long time, long enough to see everything. She saw Soraya snatch my phone from my hand like a thief grabbing treasure. She saw Soraya tell our mother not to call for help. She watched me fall backward, hit the floor and stop moving. She watched my family stand around like nothing was wrong, like I was invisible. And while they all refused to help, she did something brave. Her hands trembled like small birds as she reached into her purse. She pulled out her phone. Her voice shook as she pressed 911. She gave them our address, told them exactly where we lived, told them the color of our house and how to get up the driveway fast. She said I was not breathing right. She said my eyes kept closing. She said to hurry, please hurry. The last thing I heard before the blackness swallowed everything was faint, but growing louder, the sharp scream of ambulance sirens. They started far away, small like a whisper. But each second they grew bigger, louder, closer, like bright red arrows coming to save me. Somewhere inside the dark fog in my mind, I heard Mrs. Isolde yelling for the medics, guiding them up the driveway. Her voice was fierce, like fire and steel mixed together. She was ready to speak the truth. She was ready to make sure no one in that room could lie. And then, everything went dark. All sound fell silent. It felt like I fell into a big, endless black ocean. No light. No pain. No fear. Just quiet. I floated there with no body, no room, no time. Felt like hours or maybe only seconds, I couldn't tell. It felt like I was asleep in outer space. Slowly, like a curtain lifting, I began to return. Voices came first. Fast voices, busy voices, professional voices. I heard them saying numbers, medical words, instructions. I felt hands lifting me, placing things on me. Something tight on my face helping me breathe, straps on my arm, cold metal touching my skin. Lights flashed above me, sliding past like stars. I tried to open my eyes wide, but they only opened a little bit. I tried to speak, but air was being pushed into me by a mask. I didn't remember riding in the ambulance. I didn't remember the hospital doors opening. My brain was foggy like morning mist. Later, much later, Mrs. Isolde told me everything that happened while I was unconscious. She led the paramedics into the living room, through the cluster of relatives who were still frozen, still silent, like they were stuck in a dream and couldn't move or think. The EMTs knelt beside me and checked my pulse. One pressed their ear to my chest. Another opened a medical kit quickly like they practiced 100 times. Their expressions changed, relaxed faces turning shocked, serious, worried. One paramedic stood up and asked a question that broke the room like thunder. "She is in cardiac distress. How long has she been down? Why wasn't 911 called immediately?" Everyone froze even more. They looked at each other, mouths open but no words coming out. Soraya stepped forward. Her face changed, turning soft and sad, pretending to care. She always knew how to act like a perfect sister when someone was watching. She opened her mouth, ready to lie smoothly like she always did. "I was just about to call when..." But before her sentence could escape, Mrs. Isolde cut through her words like scissors. "That is not true," she said clearly. Her voice did not shake at all now. It was steady like stone. "I was standing right there," she continued. "I saw you take the phone. I heard you tell her mother not to call. I heard every single word." Everyone stared at her. The paramedics looked at each other. One scribbled notes fast. Soraya's skin turned pale like milk. For once she was caught. She could not twist or change the truth. There was a witness, there was proof, there were notes written down. Her lies could not save her this time. I woke up later in a hospital bed. A machine next to me beeped kindly like a heartbeat lullaby. A tube was in my arm like a lifeline keeping me safe. The lights were soft and warm. I felt safe for the first time all day. Sitting near me was a doctor in blue scrubs, reading my chart quietly. His name was Dr. Reeves. His eyes were gentle but sad, the kind of eyes that had seen too many people hurt. He smiled softly when I awoke. He told me what happened in words a child could understand. He said my heart had been struggling for months. I ignored the signs because I spent so much time taking care of everyone else. The fight in the house was too much for my heart. If the ambulance had come later, even just a little later, I might not be alive. Then he leaned close and lowered his voice so only I could hear. "I wrote everything down in your medical record," he said. "All of it. The delay. The witness. The truth." He told me that if I ever needed proof, for court, for protection, for safety, it was there forever. I nodded slowly. I didn't understand everything yet, but I knew he was trying to protect me. I could see anger hidden deep in his eyes, anger for what was done to me, but he kept it quiet like a lion sleeping with one eye open. Later that day, Dr. Reeves found Soraya waiting in a hallway outside. She was tapping her foot like she was bored and annoyed. He called her aside, down a quiet hallway where no one else could hear. She followed him, probably thinking he would tell her I was fine, or that she had done nothing wrong. He probably thought she could pretend to be a good sister like always. But he looked straight into her eyes and with a calm, steady voice, he said the 6 words that shook her whole world. "You nearly killed your sister today." Soraya opened her mouth, ready to lie. She always had lies ready. But Dr. Reeves lifted his hand, stopping her like a red light. "No excuses," he said firmly. "You need to understand what almost happened. Every second matters when a heart is failing. You stood there and did nothing. She had no words left. When he returned to the waiting room with Soraya behind him, Dr. Reeves spoke clearly to the entire family. Everyone stared at him with wide eyes. When someone says they need help, he said, you call 911. Immediately. No waiting. No debating. What happened today must never happen again. His words sat heavy in the room like bricks. That night, when everything was quiet and the hospital hallways were empty like dark caves, Mrs. Isolde came to sit beside me again. She held my fingers gently inside hers like she was afraid to let go. Her eyes shined with tears that she tried not to cry. She told me something I never expected. My father asked her to watch over me. Before he died, he told her that my family often ignored me, that they didn't see my worth, that Soraya was always put first. He said I was the one who loved him truly. He wanted someone to protect me when he no longer could. But then she told me something even bigger. Something that made tears fall down my face like rain. He changed his will. He gathered proof, papers, records, all so he could protect me even after death. I cried into her hand because I realized something huge. He loved me, he always knew, and he had been planning to take care of me even when he was gone. A few days later, after I was strong enough to walk, we went to the lawyer's office. The room had a long wooden table and leather chairs. Everyone in the family came. Soraya sat tall, confident, certain she would get everything. She thought she deserved the most because she believed her own lies. The lawyer opened a thick envelope with care. He said my father rewrote his will 1 month before he died. Silence fell like snow. Then he read the papers slowly. The house. The money. The savings. Most of everything went to me. Soraya and our mother only got the smallest amount the law required. A tiny bit, nothing more, something they could not fight. Soraya's face exploded with rage. She jumped up like fire bursting from dry wood. This is wrong. She screamed. He didn't know what he was signing. He was sick. He had dementia. Her voice shook the table. She looked around the room. Her eyes moved from person to person, searching, hoping, wishing that someone would speak for her. She wanted her family to look at her and say, yes, we believe you. We are on your side. She thought her aunts, uncles, cousins, and everyone who shared her last name would stand behind her, just like they always used to. She expected comfort. She expected support. She expected the room to lift her up like hands holding a bird that cannot fly. But that did not happen. The lawyer did not get nervous. He did not raise his voice or argue. He stayed calm like a lake on a windless day. His face did not change. He waited for her shouting to stop, then he spoke clearly, softly but firmly. Miss Maris, he said, your father knew this might happen. He knew you might say those things. He planned for it. He left more proof you cannot deny. The lawyer placed his hand on a large folder. It was thick like a school dictionary filled with paper, notes, and files. Slowly, like someone opening a treasure chest, he pulled it open. The paper inside rustled like quiet snow. He began to explain the story. 6 months before your father died, he got a call from his bank, the lawyer said. Someone tried to take $30,000 from his account. They used a signature, but it was not his. It was a fake. The room whispered with shock. Eyes widened. No one moved. The lawyer continued. The bank stopped the money from leaving because the signature did not match his normal writing. They sent him papers to prove everything. They even asked an expert to study the handwriting carefully, someone trained to know how letters bend, curve, and lift. He paused. Then he turned and looked at Soraya with eyes that saw deeper than her skin. He looked at her like someone who already knew the ending to the story. The handwriting expert said the forgery was yours, he said. You were the one who tried to take the money, Miss Maris. Silence filled the room like thick fog. It felt heavy. No one breathed. No one moved. Every face turned toward Soraya like flowers turning toward the light. But there was no light on her. Only the truth. Soraya's confident face broke. It cracked like a plate falling to the floor. Her mouth opened like she wanted to speak, but no sound escaped. Her lips trembled like frightened wings. For the first time in her life, she could not think of a lie fast enough. She was speechless. The lawyer, calm as ever, kept going. My father did not confront Soraya, he said. He was afraid. Afraid she might do worse things if she knew he had discovered the lie. So he stayed quiet. He watched. He observed. He waited and planned. For 5 long months, even when he was weak and dying, he worked to protect me. Then he told everyone what the father had done. The father met 2 doctors. They checked his mind, asked questions, gave tests, and wrote letters saying he was thinking clearly. He signed a new will while 3 honest people stood beside him. Not friends. Not family. People who could not be bribed or controlled. He kept a careful path so truth could shine, even after his body faded away. He told me, the lawyer said gently, that he wanted to make sure Soraya could not claim he was confused. He wanted everything safe, strong, and unbreakable. The lawyer looked at Soraya with soft pity. Not anger. Not hate. Pity. The kind you feel for someone who fell into their own trap. He knew exactly what he was doing, Miss Maris, he said. He gave you every chance to confess, to say sorry, to change. You never did. But this story was not finished. The lawyer took out another paper, an important one. He said it was from Mrs. Isolde. She had written down everything she saw the day Eileen collapsed. She wrote the words Soraya spoke. Don't call anyone. He's pretending. If she makes a scene, the reading will take longer. She wrote how Soraya grabbed Eileen's phone. She wrote how Eileen lay still close to death. She wrote how no one called for help while precious minutes passed. The room gasped. The lawyer said that Eileen's father had asked Mrs. Isolde to watch carefully after learning about the forgery. He trusted her. He had no idea that the situation would grow so dark, that his own daughter would stand by while someone's heart was failing. He could not imagine she would ignore suffering for money. Then the lawyer turned to Eileen, whose eyes were wet like rain. Your father spent 5 months protecting you, he told her gently. He did not stop even when his strength faded. He made sure the truth would come out. He wanted everyone to see clearly. He wanted you safe. Eileen sat frozen. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt love and pain all at once. Her father had loved quietly, carefully. Even while dying, he fought for her. Soon letters from Eileen's new lawyer were sent to every relative. The message was clear like bold paint on a wall. If anyone tried to fight the will or contact Eileen without her permission, every piece of evidence would be given to the police and the news. All the proof. Every paper. Every detail. Eileen's lawyer later whispered something to her privately. His voice was gentle but serious. Soraya didn't just refuse to call for help, he said. She stopped you from getting help. She took your phone. She told your mother not to call. In many places, people don't have to help strangers, but they cannot stop someone from getting help. That is a crime. With the forgery too, you could press charges. Eileen felt heavy inside, like her heart carried rocks. She asked for time. She did not know what she wanted yet. Word spread across town. People whispered. People wondered. People judged. Soraya's boss put her on leave while they investigated. My co-workers avoided her. Relatives ignored her calls. Her shiny reputation, built like a tall castle, fell like sand washed by the tide. She had tried to steal. She had lied. And now the world knows. Then Eileen's mother called. Her voice sounded like broken glass, sharp, fragile, almost gone. I heard everything, she said quietly. Soraya told me not to help you. And I listened. I watched you suffer and I did nothing. I don't know how I could do that to my own child. I'm so sorry. I will never forgive myself. Eileen listened. But she could not speak. He felt too much. Pain. Anger. Sadness. Love that had been forgotten. She stayed silent because forgiveness was far away like a boat on the horizon. 3 days later there was a knock. Eileen opened her door. Soraya stood there like a ghost, pale and shaking. Her mascara ran down her cheeks like black rivers. Her hands shook like leaves in the wind. She had not slept. She looked broken. Lost. Please, Eileen, she whispered. I will lose everything. My job. My friends. My good name. You're my sister. We share blood. Please forgive me. Please save me. Eileen stepped aside. She let her in. Soraya sat on the couch like she was afraid of falling. Eileen sat across from her, calm as a mountain. I'm not going to press criminal charges, Eileen said slowly. And I won't give Mrs. Isolde's statement to the news. Soraya gasped with relief. She smiled weakly. Her shoulders dropped like heavy bags placed down. She reached out to hold Eileen's hand. Eileen did not reach back. I have conditions, she said, her voice firm like a door closing. Soraya froze. You must go to therapy for at least 6 months, Eileen said. Real therapy. Not a few visits. Not pretending. You must write a paper admitting everything. About the fake signature, the lies, and how you stood by while I was dying. Then you must never contact me again unless I contact you first. If you break any rule, every paper goes to the police immediately. Soraya's relief shattered like thin ice. That's not fair, she screamed. After everything we shared as sisters, will you throw me away? You will hold this over me forever. Eileen felt a fire inside her chest. Not wild anger but strong truth. Fair, she repeated, leaning forward. You watched me die. You took my phone. You told Mom to let me die so the will would be delayed. You do not get to talk about fairness. These are my terms. You can take them or leave them. Soraya took them. She had no choice. She signed. She agreed. She left. Months later, Eileen received a letter from Soraya's therapist. It explained what Soraya finally admitted in therapy. She did not say it as an apology. She said it as the truth. I always thought Dad loved Eileen more, Soraya confessed. When he looked at her, I saw something I wanted but didn't have. I hated her for it. I wanted her to lose so I could win. If I couldn't have love, I didn't want her to have it either. She cried. Cried like a child whose broken toy can never be fixed. Naming truth is painful. But sometimes pain is the only door to change. Then Eileen's mother called again. This time her voice was softer, smaller, quieter. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness, she said. But I need you to know I am sorry. Truly sorry. If you never speak to me again, I understand. Eileen waited. She remembered birthdays forgotten, praise given to Soraya, invisible years. She finally spoke. I am not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will. But I won't close the door forever. I need time. Lots of time. And I need you to respect that. It was not a hug. Not a kiss. Not a full heart. But it was a crack in the wall. A tiny space where light might come someday. Eileen moved. She bought a small cottage near Mrs. Isolde. The woman who saved her became her true family. They cooked Sunday dinners. They took morning walks with birds singing above. Eileen felt seen. Heard. Of. Chosen. It was a new world. One built of kindness, not competition. Using part of her inheritance, she created a scholarship fund in her father's name for heart patients without insurance. People who might be ignored the way she once was ignored. At the ceremony, she placed a plaque that read, For Thomas Andrew Maris, who saw everything and loved anyway. She spoke softly to those gathered. My father did not say much near the end, she said. But he protected me by planning carefully. Even after he died, he helped me stand. Now I will help others stand too. 6 months later, a letter came from Soraya, 4 pages long. Full of excuses. Memories. Please. Eileen opened it, read the first paragraph and closed it. He did not need it. She did not need her forgiveness. She finally had herself. She finally knew she was worthy. She finally knew her father loved her exactly as she was. Not less, not almost, but completely. That was enough. Enough to heal. Enough to grow. Enough to live. And then the story turns to you. If Eileen's journey made your heart feel something, sadness, strength, hope, you must know this. You are not alone. Many children grow up feeling unseen. Many adults carry that same pain inside their chest like a small crying bird. Many give love and receive none back. Many are told to be quiet so someone else can shine. But Eileen's life teaches something bright like sunlight after storm. Your worth does not come from who notices you. Your worth is already inside you like a diamond. Even if family does not see it, even if siblings try to dim it, even if you are pushed aside, your light is still bright. Eileen did not win just because she received money. She won because she said, no more. No more shrinking. No more silence. No more letting others decide her value. She learned that forgiveness does not mean letting someone hurt you again. She learned that boundaries are not mean, they are safe. She learned that walking away is not abandonment. It is survival. And you, yes you, are allowed to walk away too.